if you would just, as the breakfasts come out, focus your attention on the video screens on both sides of the stage. We have a short video presentation that'll tell you a little bit more about New Horizons. That'll be followed by a musical number on the screen by musician, singer Dave Bastian. Thank you. Enjoy breakfast. We'll be back in about 15, 20 minutes. You are still having your breakfast, but we'd like to begin the program so we can get you out of here on time. So if I could have your attention, please. A couple of real quick thank yous. As you can see over in the corner, we have a radio studio set up. I'd like to thank Rich Gerard from Gerard at Large on 1250 The Game. Thank you, Rich, for bringing your whole gang over and setting up. We appreciate it. I think everybody knows Rich. I won't say any more. Everybody knows Rich. Also, one of the things we've tried to develop, at least in the 6 months that I've been here, is a lot of partnerships in the community. I think they work well when people in the community work together. On Sunday, we had a wonderful dinner put on by the folks from Bellwether Credit Union. And in the dining room at New Horizons, we had the entire 20-piece orchestra of the Freeze Brothers Orchestra providing music, and the folks from Bellwether in their tuxedo shirts, those T-shirts that look like tuxedos, serving dinner. It was a memorable evening, and we want to thank everyone from Bellwether. And on Thanksgiving, this Thursday, dear friends of mine who I go way back with and people I consider to be the most philanthropic people in the entire state of New Hampshire, the Singer family, dear friends of mine, are underwriting our Thanksgiving dinner, which is going to be extremely special this year, thanks to my friends from Merchants and the Singer family. Thank you so much. One other partnership I want to mention real quickly, and this one goes back to my days at Channel 9 and at WGIR, but one of the true compassionate, helpful organizations that does so much for so many food pantries in the state of New Hampshire is the New Hampshire Food Bank. And Mel Gosselin does such an amazing job of running the food bank along with Catholic Charities. And I just wanted to thank Mel and the New Hampshire Food Bank for all that they do here in the community, in the state of New Hampshire. At this time, I would like to begin our program and introduce the president of the Board of Directors of New Horizons for New Hampshire, Roy Tilsley, Jr.
Good morning. On behalf of the Board of Directors of New Horizons, the staff of New Horizons, and the people we serve, we thank you for being here today. I'm especially excited to be here for Charlie's first breakfast as the executive director. Charlie is a great example of what makes New Horizons so special, because the great thing about New Horizons is all the support we receive from so many different elements of the community. When Charlie applied for the job, he didn't exactly have the typical resume that we expect from a nonprofit executive director. He did have the benefit of having an in-house master of ceremonies, but other than that, it wasn't the typical resume. But we knew Charlie was committed to the people we serve in our mission, because as a member of the community, Charlie had always been there for us when we needed a master of ceremonies or when we needed the radio station to come to an event and broadcast live. We just called Charlie. Charlie was there, no questions asked. And that's the kind of community support that really makes New Horizons a special organization. When I come to these events for New Horizons and I put on this really cool name tag that they gave me, I always meet people who have been involved with New Horizons for so many years. I'll invariably meet somebody today who has served dinner on the third Tuesday of every month for the last 13 years. And I'll meet somebody who's worked in the pantry every Tuesday for so many years. I'll meet somebody who's done the walk for 10, 12, 13 years in a row. Someone who's done the Bill Kelly Road Race. I'll meet people who sponsor people in these events, and I'll meet people who are generous with financial donations to keep us going. All of that community support allows New Horizons to operate literally 24/7, 365 days a year. There is never a time where we just lock the building and go home. We are constantly running to serve the homeless and hungry people in the Manchester area. As the community that supports us, let me tell you a little bit of some of the things that we've accomplished since we last gathered for the Thanksgiving breakfast. Our family meal has expanded. We are now serving anywhere from 5 to 10 families per evening. Families have a hot, nutritious meal in a family setting. Out of the 200 meals we serve per night, again, we have 5 or 10 families. With assistance from CDFA and Paradigm Plumbing and Heating, who I know Steve is here today, we've installed a green, high-efficiency HVAC system. If you've been by the building, you've seen the solar panels on the roof, which provide most of the hot water for New Horizons now. With the help of Mayor Gatsis, we received a grant from the National Council of Mayors to have Benjamin Moore come in and paint the entire interior of the facility. They provided the paint, and more importantly, they provided the painters to paint the entire facility in one day. Our program director, Kevin Kittner, arranged a grant through Veterans, Inc. so that we could hire a dedicated veterans caseworker to serve homeless veterans. And we're unrolling today our new website and Legacy Society. As the community that supports us, you've allowed us to make all of these things happen in the last year. And as the community that supports us, we invite you to come out to New Horizons anytime and take a tour of the facility and see all the things that we do. I asked Charlie when the dedicated tour times were so I could invite you, and Charlie told me yesterday, just tell them to come and see me. So go to the shelter. Charlie will be happy to get out from behind his desk and give you a tour of the facility, and you can see the good work that you've been supporting for so many years. Again, on behalf of the board, the staff, and the people we serve, we thank you for being here, and we wish you a happy and healthy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. We are honored this morning to have an esteemed keynote speaker, somebody we asked a number of months ago. We wanted to make sure that he would mark the date in his calendar, because you know these retired guys, their calendars are more full now than they were when they were working. Lou Feldstein served for 24 years as the CEO and president of New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, the state's largest foundation. During his tenure, the foundation's assets grew from $25 million to almost $500 million, becoming one of the largest community foundations in the nation. Lou was several times selected as one of the 10 most influential people in the state. We are thrilled that Lou could join us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, Lou Feldstein.
I was thinking before, as I sat there between the governor and Bishop McCormick, that this is the retired side of the table here. That means you're next, moving over. So good morning. I'm aware that Thanksgiving comes closest of any American holiday to being almost a religious event. And appropriately, my remarks today are based on two great biblical names. I'm referring to John and Abraham. But the John is John Wayne, who some of you know I worked for a year on his yacht in the Mediterranean. And John Wayne, this is my one line from John Wayne. John Wayne always said to me, and not to me but to others, speak low, speak slow, and don't say very much. And so I'm going to do my best to honor the Duke. So I will be done in less than 10 minutes. And the Abraham I refer to is not the old biblical figure, but someone who looks a little bit like him. It's Abraham Lincoln. 148 years ago today, or not today, but this past Saturday, in 1863, Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address at Gettysburg. It was 4.5 months after that devastating battle. It was a foggy and cold morning, and as the crowd gathered, 15,000 people up on a hillside, the sun began to come out through the fog. Lincoln arrived at noon, At 10 and at noon, this program began. A military band played, preacher gave an invocation, and then the speaker, Edward Everett, spoke for more than 2 hours. Don't get nervous. Everett described the Battle of Gettysburg in great detail, and apparently it was so moving that at several times many people in the audience were moved to tears. When Everett finished, Lincoln spoke. And some of you may know this, but the Gettysburg Address lasted less than 2 minutes. It was fewer than 300 words. It was only 10 sentences. It was so brief, in fact, that many people in the audience entirely missed that the president was speaking because they were preoccupied by watching a cameraman setting up his camera in front of the president. The next day, Everett, the speaker, said to Lincoln, "I wish I could flatter myself that I'd come as near to the central idea of this occasion in 2 hours as you did in your 2 minutes." Now, most of you know the lines I'm about to read, which are from the early part of the Gettysburg Address. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. And he went on, "Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war." And I say, and so are we now, here in Manchester in the late fall of 2011. Soldiers may not be killing themselves around us, bullets are not flying, but can any of us in this room doubt, at least metaphorically, that this country is involved in a civil war? That armies are arrayed against one another, that what is being tested is exactly as President Lincoln put it. We are engaged in a great civil war in this nation, testing whether this nation or any nation can long endure. And indeed, we are, as President Lincoln said, right here, met on a great battlefield of that war. The war that tests our country right now is being fought out across this land and in its most discouraging form among our elected representatives in Washington, but also here in this state, in every community, and state across this country, as all sides gird themselves for the coming elections. And as surely as tanks and cannons can destroy a nation, so can a nation be destroyed from within by the unwillingness or the inability to resolve problems that, left unresolved, can destroy the economy of the nation, with every bit as much destructive power and finality as bombs and bullets. We don't have to look any further than the news to see the impact on other nations around the world who failed to take care of business. Or to bring it home, we don't have to look any further than today's headlines. Obstinacy, adherence to the certitude that I alone am right and that you are wrong, the inability of people and some of our leaders to resolve differences, to find common ground, can destroy us. That we reach this point at Thanksgiving and the holidays is especially painful. That I make this the subject of my Thanksgiving breakfast this morning may seem inappropriate and uncomfortable or bad manners. It is uncomfortable for me. But to gather at this time to mark the eve of Thanksgiving and not speak of this, not acknowledge it, for me would be far worse than uncomfortable. It would be close to criminal. It's not enough for us as citizens to just listen to the news, curse our enemies, wring our hands, and then retreat into our cocoons. We need to be heard We need to tell